Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we continue the journey into data engineering and data science within Microsoft Fabric. And we have a special guest from the data integration team, Miguel. I have invited Miguel to discuss Dataflows, a primary tool to land your data in Microsoft Fabric. I think that we cannot discuss data engineering without talking about data integration and talking about native tools for landing and processing the data within Microsoft Fabric. Miguel, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me.
Would you mind introducing yourself and sharing what cool projects you are working on?
My name is Miguel Escobar. I work in the data integration team as a product manager. I primarily work with Dataflows and Power Query. Anything that is Power Query inside of Dataflows, inside of Excel, and even inside of Power BI Desktop. And I primarily work with those tools.
That's super great. So can we start with explaining the concept of data flows for those who have never used it?
Yeah, so let's just say that you never used Dataflows. You have also never used Power Query before. The main goal of Dataflows is effectively to help you with a low-code to no-code tool for any task that is related to data preparation. So you can connect to data, you can shape the data, or just massage it or enrich it however you want, and then load the data to the destination of your choice. So that's effectively the goal or what you can do with Dataflows.
That's super clear. So I checked the documentation that you are naming that we have Dataflow second generation. Could you just recall historically what was the first generation and what is the second generation about?
So let's take like a history lesson. So we're gonna go back in time to the start of it all was Power Query. Power Query was initially a project for Azure experiments back in 2011. So back in 2011, it was an Azure service. Power Query was actually an Azure service. Then back in 2012 to 2013, Power Query, this tool, got implemented as an add-on or as an add-in to Excel for Windows back then only. It was something that you had to download and then to actually install it. From 2013 to 2015, it was only in Excel, and then it got added to back then the first offering of Power BI. It was actually part of Power BI Designer. Then it came to be Power BI Desktop. So you'll have this tool, same tool, Power Query, this editor, inside of Excel, and now inside of Power BI Desktop. And it wasn't until 2017 to 2018 when we have the first generation of Power BI Dataflows. And the idea of Dataflows is Power Query as a service online on the web, plus a set of components around how to manage your queries and this Dataflow. Things like scheduling a refresh, where should this data land, other set of enrichments that you could potentially do that are intrinsic or native to Power BI. That's the overall idea of Dataflows. It's something on top of Power Query that helps you manage all of it as just a service. So we have Power BI Dataflows Gen2 that was on 2017, 2018, and now in 2023, we have Dataflows Gen2 with Fabric. And the main difference that you see between Gen1 and Gen2 is that with Gen2, you're not bound to a single destination. You can actually select and define your data destination with Dataflows Gen2. So it is more agnostic in that sense, in terms of how you want to load the data. And then there's also some other mechanism behind the scenes on how things get evaluated. So it's not exactly the same when you talk about what happens behind the scenes on Gen1 and Gen2. It's quite different. It's a completely new architecture. It's a completely new way to actually work or set up your queries in Dataflows Gen2. So that's quite the story on how we got here. And then we can talk about where we're going to be headed.
Yeah, I would like to follow up on the architecture. You mentioned that it's a different one. Can you explain from the architecture perspective what has changed and how the change supports a better data flow management system?
So behind the scenes, it's still the M engine at its core. It's still what we call the M engine, which is the Power Query engine running the M code or the Power Query script. The main concept, or what we try to make an effort to improve, is in terms of scalability. One of the main feedbacks that we have from customers is that for some scenarios, we just couldn't scale with Dataflows Gen1, or that it was difficult to scale up. So now with Dataflows Gen2 behind the scenes, we can use not only the Power Query engine, but we can use other engine that is baked inside of Fabric or Dataflows to leverage a different compute system and make it as scalable or as scalable as it can potentially be. In Dataflows, we did try to make this happen with what we call the enhanced compute, which was behind the scenes, it was a SQL compute. From Dataflows Gen2, we're trying to make that abstract so you don't really have to worry about what is the engine behind the scenes, because in the future, maybe we can improve it and it can actually be something completely better, new technology. But for you, it will just run. It might actually just run better. So that's the main difference in terms of architecture.
Miguel, that makes sense. So now let's dive into the details. How Dataflow handle complex data structures and data types.
So one of the coolest things about Power Query in general, and just to give you more of a background for myself, I was, before I joined Microsoft, I was a consultant or evangelist of Power Query for around 10 years or close to 10 years. And one of the coolest things about this tool itself and how it was presented to citizen data integrators is that no matter how you connect to data, once it's inside of Power Query, it just looks like any Power Query data. There's nothing that is specific to a data source. It's once it's inside of Power Query, then you're basically golden. So when it comes down to complex data types, we can read data types that are complex. We can show them as tables. We can show them as what we call structured values. So it can potentially be a list. It could be a record. Inside of that record, it could have other structured values. So it can be a really nested situation of a table inside of a table, inside of a table, inside of a list, inside of a record. So it can actually be that. But we do support it. So when it comes down to editing your queries, we have full support for those. You can even connect to a data that just shows you binary files, and you then read those binary files or parse them however you want to parse them. So that is something that we also have in Power Query.
Based on your experience with working with customers from analytics, from machine learning area, how would you position the role of Dataflow, the second generation, for those scenarios? So data analytics, the data engineering job, but also data science job.
So it really depends on the scenario, you know. One of the things that even you and I have talked about is that there's a lot of overlap between what you can do with the notebook and what you can do with the data flow. But for example, the on-pivot scenario that we talk about, you know, how difficult an on-pivot might be to do on pandas and or just in pandas in general, and how easy it is to do it in data flows.
Maybe just to recall the case. So during the Microsoft Build conference, we have been delivering together the hands-on workshop about end-to-end story, data integration and data engineering within Microsoft Fabric. And what we try to do is to show the capabilities of data flows plus notebooks. And the specific case was that pivot, unpivot for data flow, based on what I'm recalling, it was just a button.
Yeah.
And because that time we have been using Apache Spark 3.3 and we have been missing unpivot there. So because of that, we had to read the data set, transform it to pandas, write about 10 lines of code, and we did on Pivot. But the effort was uncomparable between Dataflow and notebooks. From the good things is that from Apache Spark 3.4 version, we got the unpivot command. So as of now, great. It's just one line, one method.
There might be other scenarios in the future where, we might actually have a function baked in that might not actually be baked into notebooks at all or any language at all, because we have noticed that people have been using this specific pattern and we're transforming it into a function. So we have that, we own the language. So we own the M language and we can create our own function based on feedback and just some patterns that we're finding. Not to mention that we have Copilot on Dataflows as well. So even if you don't know the name of the function or the name of the actual button, I'll be honest with you, even the word on pivot, back when I first read it in 2013, I couldn't find it in the dictionary on pivot. But it makes sense for people that have been using pivot tables. Even if you don't know the name, if you are able to explain or create a prompt for Copilot, you might actually just find it and it might actually work.
Without coding or with low code, meaning that providing some list of columns. Got it. Miguel, do you have any scenarios where and when the second generation of Dataflow was significantly outperforming the first one?
We do have quite a few ones that we're gonna be like it's a night and day difference. Like it's like this. It's like this. Like it, you not see it, but it's just a huge difference with things that we're gonna be releasing quite soon around fast copy and other scenarios, where we're able to leverage the engine of pipelines to actually copy the data from one repository. It might actually be, let's just say, Dataflows Gen2. We just copy the data super quickly. We move it to this, this lakehouse, and then we use the compute in the lakehouse to actually make this as fast as possible. And that sort of, capability, we just didn't have it in Gen 1. And even if you try, let's just say that you have the best computer in the world right now in your desktop, even if you just try to do Power Query, even the Dataflows might actually be faster. So that's something that we're super thrilled to actually make it happen. There's a few things that we're still working on, but what I'm trying to get at is that the best is yet to come. It's quite remarkable that within the same year, and even for yourself, Estera, is that in the same year, we went to public preview and GA within the same year. So that's incredible. Just in 6 months, we made it happen, which it's amazing. But I think that the best is still yet to come. And what we have in store for people next year, I'm not sure when this is going to be airing. Maybe it's actually going to be airing in 2013 or in 2014. But when people see it and they get to experience Dataflows, we're probably going to have quite a few new things for them to try, and they're going to be happy.
Super good to hear that. So now I would like to, for those who are watching us, I would like to recall that some time ago we recorded the Espresso episode about how to land your data in Fabric. And yes, we have mentioned Dataflow, but this episode and two upcoming are going to bring you down to the bottom how to do that. So for the next episode, we'll discuss data destination in Dataflows, in the second generation of Dataflows. And also we will show you the demo, how you can start working with Dataflows. Okay, that's it for today. Our series of data engineering and data science is going further, and now we are doing a small stop for data integration and data ingestion topics. So please wait for the upcoming video to watch how to start with Dataflows. Thank you so much.